she gave her last 200 naira to a tired stranger at the bus park. She didn't know that same man would soon hold her future in his hands. She was broke, desperate, and late for a job interview. But she couldn't ignore someone being mocked for having nothing. She thought she was just being kind, but fate was watching. Because when she arrived at the company gate, the man she helped was already there, in a suit. And he wasn't just anybody. He was the CEO. Her name is Ada, 24 years old, a graduate, and broke. Lagos hadn't been kind to her. She had walked in the sun, begged in the dark, and prayed for jobs that never called back. Her mother was sick, her rent overdue. But today, she put on her only clean blouse, stuffed her CV into a worn nylon bag, and told herself, maybe today is the day. She had no idea that helping a stranger at the bus park would change her entire life. So sit back, relax, and let this story remind you, sometimes the smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors. The early morning sun struggled to pierce through the thick Lagos haze, casting a dull glow over the crumbling sidewalks and chaotic bus park. Ada stood at the edge of the terminal, her heart pounding harder than the Danfo horns blaring around her. Today could change everything, if she could just get to the interview in time. She clutched a thin brown file to her chest, her CV inside slightly damp from sweat. Her mother had prayed with her before she left home, hands trembling from illness, whispering, "God will surprise you today, Ada." She believed it too. She had to. Her stomach grumbled. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. All she had in her purse was 200 naira, barely enough for the 2 buses she needed to get to Lekki. She hesitated. Should she eat, or should she board the next Danfo before the fare went up? A conductor yelled, "Lekki! Lekki! One chance remaining, oh!" She darted forward, then stopped. A small crowd had formed beside one of the benches, shouting and laughing at someone. Lying slumped against a rusted pole was an elderly man. He looked crippled, his left leg twisted unnaturally, barefoot and covered in dust. His clothes hung on him like rags, and his lips were dry. A group of young men were mocking him. One even tossed a sachet of water that hit him in the chest. Ada's chest tightened. She had seen beggars before, but something about this man, the silent way he stared up at the sky as if used to being invisible, broke her. People passed him like he was part of the concrete. She stepped forward slowly and crouched beside him. "Sir, have you eaten today?" she asked. The man looked at her for the first time. His eyes, though tired, carried a strange sharpness. "I haven't eaten in 2 days," he replied. His voice was calm, almost dignified. She didn't think twice. Ada reached into her purse and pulled out her last 200 naira note. Her heart beat faster. She knew what this meant. If she gave it away, she'd have to walk all the way. But something in her wouldn't let her ignore him. The man accepted it without begging. He looked at her deeply, then said, "Thank you, Ada." She froze. "How do you know my name?" He smiled gently. "Be careful on your way. You have a long road ahead." Before she could ask more, he closed his eyes and leaned back as if sleeping. The crowd had already dispersed. Confused and disturbed, Ada stood up slowly, then turned and began walking down the road. The distance ahead was long. She'd have to get there on foot now. Her legs were already sore, but she walked with purpose. She had no idea who that man was, or how he knew her name. But one thing was certain. Today would not be an ordinary day. She glanced at the file in her hand. Then, from behind her, she heard footsteps. Heavy ones, getting closer. The footsteps behind Ada grew louder, crunching the gravel with measured weight. Her heart skipped. She turned slightly, gripping her file tighter. A tall man in black was approaching, not running, not calling out, just walking. Deliberate. Calm. Too calm. She picked up her pace. Her slippers slapped the ground unevenly, sending sharp jolts up her legs. Her mind raced. Could it be a thief? A kidnapper? Lagos was unpredictable. But then again, what if it had something to do with the old man? "Madam!" the man called. His voice was deep but not threatening. "Wait, I beg!" Ada froze. The way he said it, polite, almost apologetic, didn't match his intimidating presence. She stopped and turned, her throat dry. "Yes." The man stopped a safe distance away. "You forgot this," he said, holding out a folded paper. It was a photocopy of her credentials. It must have slipped out when she gave the 200 naira to the beggar. Ada exhaled in relief. "Thank you," she said, taking it. "You followed me just to return this?" He nodded. "The man you helped, not everyone would do what you did. I saw it. He doesn't talk to people like that often." Ada frowned. "You know him?" The man simply smiled. "Sometimes, angels wear rags." He turned and walked away before she could ask more. Ada stood there stunned, the paper trembling in her hand. This was starting to feel like a test. But from who? The rest of the journey was brutal. Sweat soaked her blouse. Her slippers cut into her feet. But when she saw the giant glass doors of the office building ahead, her heart lifted. She had made it, with 0 naira and a head full of questions. Inside, the receptionist eyed her from behind a polished desk. "Good morning. Are you here for the marketing executive interview?" Ada nodded, trying to hide her nerves. The woman gave a tight smile. "You're 30 minutes late." "I'm so sorry, Ma. I had—" she started. The receptionist raised a hand. "You'll have to wait. Mr. Martins hasn't come out yet. You might not even be allowed in." Ada's throat tightened. After all she'd endured, she could still lose it all. She sat down between 2 other applicants, both in crisp suits. They didn't even glance her way. Her skirt was wrinkled, her slippers dusty. She looked like a house girl. She swallowed hard and whispered, "God, please, surprise me." Just then, a door creaked open. A well-dressed man stepped out, but he wasn't the CEO. He scanned the room and said, "Candidate 14, Ada, please come with me." As Ada stood up, heart pounding, the receptionist gave her a puzzled glance. "You're lucky," she muttered. "He usually doesn't see anyone dressed like—" She stopped. The receptionist's eyes widened. Mr. Martins had just walked past, and he was staring directly at Ada, with a small smile on his lips. Mr. Martins didn't say a word as he walked past the row of applicants. His well-polished shoes made soft, rhythmic sounds on the tiled floor. But his eyes, hidden behind designer frames, never left Ada. Not once. The other candidates noticed. One man in a sleek black suit leaned toward Ada, whispering, "Do you know him?" or something. She shook her head, just as stunned. Her legs were trembling, from both exhaustion and confusion. The assistant who had called her earlier returned, smiling a little too politely now. "Right this way, Miss Ada." She led her through a long corridor. Frosted glass panels lined each side, hiding meetings, secrets, and power. Inside the final office was an executive desk that could feed her entire family for a month. Mr. Martin stood beside it, removing his glasses slowly. His eyes, clear, calculating, and oddly kind, studied her like a puzzle. "Sit," he said. Ada obeyed quickly, nearly missing the edge of the seat. Her skirt clung awkwardly to her legs, sweat making her uncomfortable. She prayed he wouldn't notice the dirt on her slippers. "Tell me, Ada," he said smoothly, "why are you here?" The question felt simple, but the way he asked it made it feel like a test. She took a deep breath. "I'm here because I believe I can be valuable to your company, sir. I studied marketing and—" He held up a hand. "Not your CV. You left your home with barely enough fare and walked here. Why?" Ada blinked. How did he know she walked? She hesitated. I I gave my last 200 naira to a man who needed it more than I did, she said quietly. I thought, maybe if I helped someone, God would help me. Mr. Martins leaned back in his chair. What if I told you that man wasn't just a beggar? Ada's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. Sir! He smiled faintly. There are things you don't understand yet, but I'm watching, and I admire your honesty. He tapped the desk lightly. You'll take a written test, then we'll talk again. A moment later, the assistant returned and led Ada into a quiet room with white walls and a ticking clock. Her palms were sweating again. She stared at the first question and blinked. The ink swam on the page. Her head ached. All she could hear was her mother's cough echoing in her mind and the soft voice of that strange old man. You have a long road ahead. Then something odd happened. A shadow passed the glass door. A man paused. Not just any man. The crippled beggar. He stood upright, no limp, wearing a clean shirt, staring directly at her. And then he walked away. Ada sprang to her feet, her chair screeching against the tiled floor. She rushed to the glass door, heart pounding in her ears. But the hallway was empty. The man, the same crippled beggar she had fed that morning, had vanished. She pressed her face against the glass, scanning left and right. No cane, no limp, no trace. Just a distant hum of the AC vents and the muffled sound of someone typing in another office. Her heart raced. Was she hallucinating? She sat back down slowly, her legs trembling under her skirt. Maybe she was just hungry, tired. The walk, the stress, all of it was playing tricks on her mind. That man couldn't have been the same person. Could he? She refocused. She had an opportunity that most girls like her didn't get. She took a deep breath and started writing. The questions weren't easy. Marketing metrics, consumer behavior, campaign strategy. But she pushed through. 30 minutes later, she handed in her script and was directed to wait again in the main lobby. Her stomach growled as she passed the receptionist, who now avoided her gaze. The air-conditioned lobby felt cold, sterile, too quiet. As she sat, a familiar voice called her name. Ada? She turned. It was Mr. Martins again, but now his expression was unreadable. He gestured for her to follow him. No one else in the room even looked up. They entered a smaller room this time, more intimate, with bookshelves, a single framed photo of Mr. Martins with a much older man, and a coffee machine in the corner. She stood, uncertain whether to sit or speak. Sit, he said again. You did well. Thank you, sir, she whispered. He handed her the water. You've faced hardship, that much is clear. But let me ask you something. Do you believe in divine appointments? Ada nodded slowly. Yes, sir. I believe that when God wants to bless someone, he sends people. He smiled. Interesting, because the man you helped this morning, he's not what he seems. She stiffened. Sir, I think I saw him. Just now, outside the test room. Mr. Martins leaned back, fingers steepled. His name is Papakletus. Some say he's mad. Others say he used to own half of this city. No one really knows. But he shows up only when someone's at a crossroads. And he tests them. Ada blinked. You mean this was a test? Mr. Martins smiled. Not exactly, but you're not here by accident. Just then, his phone buzzed. He checked it, and his face changed. He stood. Excuse me. He stepped outside, shutting the door behind him. Ada sat alone. Seconds later, the photo on the wall fell, face down. Ada stared at the man in the doorway. Her breath caught in her throat. Papa, Cletus! But not the Papa Cletus she knew. The hunched shoulders were now squared, the limp gone. He stood tall, commanding, his dusty caftan swaying slightly from the hallway breeze. Good afternoon, Miss Ada, he said, in a deep, smooth voice that carried no hint of weakness or age. Ada blinked. But you were crippled. At the bus park. Papa Cletus smiled. I was exactly what I needed to be. Mr. Martins chuckled lightly. You still don't get it, do you, Ada? Ada turned to him, mind reeling. I thought you were testing candidates, but this feels like a movie. Mr. Martins nodded. The real test started the moment you left your house. Papa Cletus sat down on a leather couch without being invited, legs crossed elegantly. You see, Miss Ada, people pretend to be good when they're being watched. True kindness is when no one is looking and nothing is promised. Ada sat back down slowly, heart thudding. So, you were watching me? Mr. Martins gave her a look. Not watching, hoping that someone out there would do the right thing even when it cost them everything. Papa Cletus nodded. You passed. And not just you, 3 others from your group, but none gave as much as you did. Your last 200 naira? That wasn't pocket change. That was your day's chance. Ada's throat tightened. I wasn't doing it to be seen. I just couldn't watch everyone mock someone like that. Mr. Martins leaned forward. That's exactly why you were seen. Not with cameras, not with eyes, but with heart. Papa Cletus stood. My job here is done. He turned to Ada. Keep walking this path. Life will test you again, but now you'll know who you are. And with that, he exited the room, his footsteps quiet and sure. Ada turned back to Mr. Martins. So, what happens now? He pulled out a folder and handed it to her. Inside, her appointment letter. Position, executive assistant to the CEO. Ada gasped. You're serious? He smiled. Go home, Ada. And tomorrow, come back as a full staff member. She stood, still stunned, and clutched the envelope close to her chest. Then, Mr. Martins added, By the way, we've already transferred the funds for your mother's surgery. She'll be admitted first thing tomorrow. Ada's legs buckled slightly, the world blurred, and then her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Unknown caller. She picked up. A soft, trembling voice came through the speaker. Ada, you need to come home. It's Mama. Something happened. Ada's hand trembled as she clutched her phone, the job letter pressed to her chest like a fragile miracle. The soft voice on the line was her younger cousin, Nkechi, and her words struck like lightning. Mama collapsed. The doctor said it's worse than we thought. Please come quickly. Ada's mouth went dry. I'll be there, she stammered, ending the call. Mr. Martins rose from his seat immediately. What's wrong? My mother, Ada gasped. She collapsed. Without waiting, he walked around the desk and placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Let me get you a car. Within 10 minutes, Ada was in the back seat of a black SUV, hands fidgeting in her lap. The driver, a quiet man in a company uniform, sped through Lagos traffic. Every honk outside sounded like a scream in her chest. By the time they pulled into the hospital compound, her stomach was in knots. The smell of antiseptic and anxiety hit her as she stepped out, and Nkechi spotted her and rushed forward. They're running tests now, Nkechi cried. She couldn't breathe, Ada. Her eyes rolled back. Ada followed her cousin inside, heart hammering. The ward was dim and too quiet. Through a small window in the door, she saw her mother lying still on the bed. Oxygen mask, IV drip, machines blinking quietly. Mama, Ada whispered, pressing her palm to the glass. A nurse approached. You're her daughter. Ada nodded quickly. She's stable now, the nurse said. But the collapse triggered complications. She'll need emergency surgery within 24 hours and ICU afterward. I thought the surgery was already paid for, Ada said, voice cracking. The nurse shook her head. Funds came in this morning, yes, but that was for the previous procedure. This is different, much more urgent. Ada blinked hard. How much? 5 million naira, At least. It was like the walls crashed in on her. She stepped outside to catch her breath. The world tilted. Her new job, the hope she felt. It all suddenly seemed like a candle flickering in a hurricane. Mr. Martins had already helped once. Could she ask again? Would he think she was ungrateful? Opportunistic? As she pondered, her phone rang again. It was an unknown number. She hesitated, then picked up. "Miss Ada," a cool female voice said. "I work with Mr. Martins. He asked me to deliver something." Ada blinked. "Deliver what?" There was a pause. "A check." "A check?" Ada asked, stunned. "Why?" He asked no questions, just said, "If she's worth hiring, she's worth saving." Tears sprang to Ada's eyes. "Where do I meet you?" "Look behind you." Ada turned, and there she was, a woman in a navy suit holding an envelope. Ada's fingers hesitated on the envelope flap. Her heart pounded like it knew something she didn't. The woman in the navy suit watched silently, a calm contrast to Ada's trembling form. The hospital courtyard buzzed behind them, but for Ada, time had stalled. Finally, Ada tore it open. Inside, a check. 5 million naira. Exactly. For a moment she couldn't breathe. It was real. Her mother could live. She looked up at the woman, unsure whether to cry or scream. "Why is he doing this?" Ada whispered. The woman finally spoke. "Because you gave him something money couldn't buy. Kindness. No one does that without wanting something in return." Ada blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" The woman took a slow step forward. "He believes you're rare, but rare things are tested." That night, as Ada watched her mother sleep peacefully in the hospital bed, she kept replaying the words. Tested? For what? Gratitude? Loyalty? Something else? She sat motionless until dawn, the hum of machines a cold lullaby. The next morning, she returned to the office, sleep-deprived but determined. She owed Mr. Martins a thank you. No, more than that. But as she stepped into the lobby, the receptionist gave her a strange look. "He's not in," the woman said. Ada frowned. "But I just spoke with someone from his office yesterday." The woman gave her a tight-lipped smile. "Mr. Martins hasn't been in since Monday." "Monday? That was 2 days ago." Ada's breath caught. The check, the driver, the woman in the suit. Who had she really been talking to? Back at home, things moved fast. Her mother's recovery was miraculous, but so was Ada's sudden rise. A corner office was prepared for her, an official laptop delivered to her doorstep. Yet no one mentioned Mr. Martins. No welcome, no contract signing. She sent 3 messages to Mr. Martins. No reply. Finally, she dialed. "This line is currently switched off." Ada stared at her screen. Something wasn't right. She remembered the envelope. There was no logo, no signature on the check, but one. A Dot Martins. Not Alfred Martins. Her mind spiraled. Who was A? Martins? A brother? A decoy? A test? Just then, her phone buzzed again. This time, a message. "You're invited." That was all. No number, no name, no location. Then, another text. "We've been watching you, Ada. Come to the older Papa warehouse. Midnight." She dropped the phone. Her heart screamed danger, but her curiosity whispered something louder. Asterisks, answers, dot. The drive to a Papa felt like a journey through a different world. Midnight Lagos was silent in places Ada never thought could be quiet. Her eyes scanned the roads nervously, every bump in the street a jolt in her spine. Her Bolt driver kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "Are you sure this is the place?" the driver asked, stopping outside a crumbling warehouse gate, its rusted frame groaning in the night wind. Ada nodded stiffly. "Yes." She stepped out, the gates looming like ancient sentinels. The driver sped off, tires screeching faintly into the darkness. The silence was suffocating. Ada reached out and pushed the gate. It opened with a loud creak that echoed like a scream. She stepped inside slowly. The warehouse was massive, its interior lit only by a line of dim industrial bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Her footsteps echoed. She could feel eyes watching her, though she saw no one. Then, a voice from above, deep, calm, and familiar. "I knew you'd come." Ada spun around, her heart racing. "Who's there?" A man stepped forward from the shadows on the platform above. It was him, Mr. Martins, or the man who claimed to be him. "I'm not who you think I am," he said, descending the metal stairs slowly. Ada stepped back. "You lied to me." "No," he replied. "I tested you, and you passed." He reached the bottom and stood before her. "My real name is A.O. Martins. I'm Alfred's twin." Ada blinked. "Twin?" He continued. "We were born into wealth. But I left. I needed to find something real, someone real." "And this was your plan? Trick people?" Ada spat. "It wasn't a trick," Io replied. "It was a filter. Everyone else ignored me when I was the beggar. You didn't. You gave even when you had nothing." Ada stared at him, emotions warring. "Why me?" "Because you're the only one who saw a person, not a test." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a black velvet box. "I want to offer you something more than a job." Ada stepped back. "Don't. Please don't do what I think you're doing." But he knelt anyway. "I don't expect a yes. Not now," Ao said. "But I had to show you the truth. About me. About what I feel." Ada couldn't breathe. A part of her was touched, but another part screamed, "You barely know this man." Suddenly, a loud bang shattered the moment. The side door burst open. 4 men in dark suits stormed in, flashlights beaming. "Ayo! What the hell are you doing here?" Ayo stood quickly, his face draining of color. "They weren't supposed to find us." Ada's heart dropped. "Who were they?" Ada froze. The flashlights were blinding, casting sharp halos through the dust-filled air. Ao stepped in front of her protectively, voice low but tense. "Stay behind me." The tallest of the suited men lowered his beam. "Io, step away from her. Now." Ada's breath caught. "Who are they?" she whispered. Ao didn't turn. "Board members. My father's men." The lead man stepped forward. "You've caused enough chaos, Ao. You were ordered to stay away from the company, and from this girl." Ada's heart raced. "Why her?" "They think you're a threat," Io said, "because I want to give someone like you power." Ada stepped out from behind him. "I don't understand. What do I have to do with any of this?" The men exchanged glances. One muttered, "She wasn't supposed to matter." "She's a liability," the second man said. "She knows too much. And you gave her full executive access. Are you mad?" Ao's voice was ice. "She earned it, and I'm not backing down." Ada turned slowly toward him. "Access? What are they talking about?" Ada stepped back in shock. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're the only person I trust," Ao said, eyes never leaving hers. "And because I won't let them turn this company into what they turned our family into." One man shouted, "You've lost your mind!" Suddenly, another voice echoed from the shadows behind the intruders. "That's enough." Everyone turned. From the dark walked an older man with regal posture, dressed in a tailored white agbada. His silver beard shimmered under the light. Ada immediately knew. This was the true patriarch. "Father," Ao muttered, voice tense. The old man didn't respond immediately. His eyes scanned the chaos, then settled on Ada. You're the girl who gave my son money at the bus park. Ada straightened. Yes, sir. A pause. Then he nodded. That was no small thing. He looked at the other men. Ayo has always been impulsive, but he sees what we don't. Turning back to Ada, he added, You remind me of someone. My late wife, fierce, honest. Ada blinked in shock. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay, he replied. Then, from outside, a loud boom shattered the calm. The warehouse doors blew open as police sirens wailed in the distance. Ayo cursed. They leaked our location. The elder growled. You brought law enforcement into family business? Ada grabbed Ayo's arm. We have to leave, now.